Hi and welcome to Inspirational STEM. Today we're going to look at this JEE problem. Okay, so we are given two equations and we are also given their roots. So let's go ahead and take a look at that first. So the first equation is x squared minus px plus r equals 0, and alpha and beta are the roots of that equation. All right, so uh, let's go ahead and remember that the roots of an equation means they are the x-intercepts of that parabola, and essentially what we can write then is, so I'm just going to put number one, is we can say x equals alpha, and I can also say x equals beta. So those are the x values where the parabola, which are the x-intercepts, and the parabola basically touches the x-intercept, and the f of x value is 0. Okay, great. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to write these, just kind of like a going back reverse of the zero product rule. Is I'm just going to go this way, so subtract an alpha from both sides, or bring alpha to this side. So x minus alpha equals 0. Okay, and I'll do the same for this beta. So x minus beta equals 0. So you can see that we are trying to now write this as in the factors form. So these would be the factors then, and then I'm just going to write this as x minus alpha times x minus beta equals 0. Okay, so this is essentially going back on the opposite direction of the zero product rule. So we basically have the roots and we are writing the factors from there. So these are the factors. Now, okay, very good. Now we can go ahead and essentially distribute these. So we can say x, so I'm just going to write this like that, x squared minus x beta minus x alpha, and then we have negative alpha, negative beta, so that gives us plus alpha beta equals 0. Okay, very good. So now what we're going to try to do is try to combine the middle two terms, because we can see here that there's a negative x common, so we can try to combine that. So I'm just going to write x squared, and I'm going to take a negative x common. So when I do that, it's beta plus alpha. I'm just going to write alpha plus beta plus alpha beta equals 0. Okay, so all I did was I took negative x common from the middle two terms. All right. So now this is looking a lot more than like the given equation that we have, x squared minus px plus r. All right, so let's go ahead and see. Let's write that actually below here. So if I go ahead and do that, then we have x squared minus px minus px plus r. So I'm going to put r over here equals 0. So now do you see that we can try to do some equivalency here? So what I'm going to try to do is essentially, I'm just going to show you real quick. So this alpha beta is equivalent to the third term here, r, and also this alpha plus beta, which is multiplied with the negative x, is equivalent to the p term. So essentially we can set them equal to each other. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to write this right on this side over here. So essentially what we have so far is r equals alpha beta, and then we have p equals alpha plus beta. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Now what we're going to do, we're going to do the same thing for the next equation and the roots that are given for that other equation. So let's just go ahead and do that real quick here. I'm going to try to draw a quick line here. So that's number 2. So I'm just going to write the roots down first. So I'm just going to write in the x equals form. X equals alpha by 2. So alpha by 2. And then we have x equals 2 beta. And our equation, I'm just going to write that here. The given equation is x squared minus qx plus r equals 0. All right, so let's go ahead and move on and see what we have here now. So just doing the same thing we did before. So trying to get factors out of these. X minus alpha by 2 equals 0. And then we have x minus 2 beta equals 0. And then just multiply them together. X minus alpha by 2 times x minus 2 beta equals 0, and then distribute them like we did before. So I'm just going to write that over here. So x squared, and then we have minus x times 2 beta minus x times alpha by 2, and then we have negative alpha by 2. We have this negative alpha by 2 multiplied by negative 2 beta. So the negative times negative is positive, and then the 2's cancel off. So we end up getting plus alpha beta, just like the previous one. So plus alpha beta. So this is kind of getting to be a trend because you see the r is alpha beta. So even in this case, the r is alpha beta. Okay. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did previously. I'll take common here, negative x common. So when I do that, I can just write alpha first. I'm going to write alpha first, alpha by 2 plus 2 beta. And then we have alpha beta, of course, equals 0. All of this equals 0. And then, so all I did was took negative x common, and then we have 2 beta plus alpha by 2. I just wrote it as alpha by 2 plus 2 beta. Okay? All right, plus alpha beta. So now we're going to set our equivalency situation. So I'm just going to take this. So we can see here clearly that our r term, we already know what that is, alpha beta. And then our q term is the new one here. The q term is this right here, alpha by 2 plus 2 beta, because they are both multiplied to a negative x. Okay, so they are equivalent. All right, so now we can just go ahead and basically write that down here. So what we have is, so far, we have the following. We know for sure, so this step 3, we know for sure R is alpha beta, and that's what we need to find out the final answer for. And then we have a P up here, we already found that out, is alpha plus beta. And then now we have a new one. We have a Q. We just said it was alpha by 2 plus 2 beta. Excellent. So we have these 3 things. We got to figure it out from here now. Okay, so we want the answer to be in the P and Q form. So we got to write everything in the P and Q form. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, so what I observe here is these are basically, will turn into systems of equations now. So before I do that though, however, I'm going to take, just for ease, I'm going to multiply this whole thing with a 2. All right. Why? Because I just want to get rid of this 2 in the denominator. All right. So that gives us 2q equals 2 times alpha by 2 is just simply alpha. And 2 times 2 beta is plus 4 beta. All right. Okay. Very good. Now what we're going to do, we're going to treat this one and this one as systems of equations. So I'm just going to go ahead and write this one below this one. So we have P equals alpha plus beta. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and subtract it. So minus everything, so it will get just negatives everywhere after I distribute. So what the result of this is going to be is 2q minus p, and alpha are going to get cancelled, and then you have 4 beta minus beta equals 3 beta. All right, very good. Now we are getting somewhere. Now we just divide both sides by a 3, so we already have our beta value. All right, and that happens to be right here, beta. Now what we can do is we have this nice equation in the middle. We can go ahead and substitute our beta into here. So I'm just going to continue over here on the left. So P equals alpha plus just the beta we just found out right now is, I'm just going to write that 2q minus p divided by 3. So I'm going to LCD this stuff now. So I'm going to LCD this and I'm just going to write P equals 3 alpha plus 2q minus p divided by 3. And all we did here was we just LCD'd this. So just do it the best way you'd like to LCD this, the right hand terms. Okay. All right, let's go and cross multiply. So we have 3p equals 3 alpha plus 2q minus p. So our goal is to write these in the form of alpha equals. So let's bring everything to the left hand side. So I subtract 2q from both sides. And then, so we have, or just move it over to the other side, however you'd like to do it. 3p minus 2q. Okay, so I just brought this over to this side, and then the negative p is going to go this side as well. Okay, so that gives us plus p equals 3 times alpha. Okay, very good. So that gives us essentially 3p plus p is 4p. So 4p minus 2q equals 3 alpha. All right, very good. Now we could go ahead and divide both sides by 3. And so 3's get cancelled. So now we have our alpha value also, which is right here. And we had previously already calculated our beta value. So now let's go ahead and write the R that we are trying to, so remember that we are trying to find finally the answer for R equals alpha plus beta. We want to find what that is per the question. So R equals alpha times beta, and we just calculated alpha to be, so let's write that down, is 4p minus 2q divided by 3 multiplied by beta, which is 2q minus p divided by 3. All right, excellent. Now we're almost there. If we just want to take a 2 from here, because we can see a 4 and a 4p and a 2q, so I'm just going to take a 2 out of here. So when I do that, I have 2 times 2p minus q, and then the next one is just the same, 2q minus p, and then we have a 3 and a 3 in the denominator. I'm just going to write 9 for that. So 2/9, 2p minus q, 2q minus p is our final R value answer. And this seems to be the format, the original, the question answer, the 4 choices were, and we are going to leave it in this form. And so what I'm gonna do is basically just highlight the answer here. So this happens to be our final answer. And all right, so final answer. And we just going to go back and take a look at the choices that we have. 292p minus q, 2q minus p. So let's just go ahead and go back to the original question here to see what the four choices were. So you see here clearly none of these. We had a 2p minus q and 2q minus p. So all of these choices are not correct. A, C, and B is also not correct because there's only a Q here. So D is the answer choice, which is correct. So this will be our final choice, as our answer is choice D. Okay, so so a quick review. We found out took the roots, we wrote them as x equals, made the factors, distributed them, and then set them equivalent to the original given equations. And when we did that, we were able to generate values, and then we basically took those equations, did systems of equations on that, and then we found the answers of alpha and beta, alpha equals and beta equals in the form of p's and q's. And then we went ahead and multiplied, because the original question is asking us what is the value of r. So our final answer is 2/9 2p minus q, 2q minus p. And let's just going back to our final answer is r equals 2/9 2p minus q, 2q minus p. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, or if you have any other way of solving this particular JEE problem, please let me know in the comments below. And also I would really appreciate it if you could please give me a like. And also if you want to see future questions of this sort, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel as well. All right, I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. All right, bye bye.